It's the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast, your weekly disc golf analysis podcast right here on JomezPro. I'm your host, Brian Aderhold. My co-host, Nate Perkins, joins me. Nate, it's going to be a mega show. It's going to be a thick hog of a show. Lots to talk about. 2 tournaments, some new drug testing information that just came out on the 27th. But Nate, first and foremost, some quick information. I am at an undisclosed location near Washington, D.C. I am picking up my visa tomorrow because I have been selected by the World Flying Disc Federation to go to Chengdu, China, the week after the World Championships to commentate disc golf at the World Games, which is essentially the Olympics for sports that are not going to be in the next Olympics. There's going to be a ton of sports over there, and disc golf and ultimate frisbee are going to be there, and I cannot wait. I'm super honored. We'll talk about the World Games later. Cool. I have a lot of information on it. It's super exciting, but we don't have time, Nate. We don't have time. On the 27th, an email was sent out by the PDGA alerting players that didn't know that at the upcoming World Championships in Finland, the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Association, is going to be random drug testing the players prior to the event. And it was not known information to a lot of players. And it was strange to see it sent out 33 days prior. In the email, they mentioned that cannabinoids are one of the substances tested for. Obviously, trying to target and inform Americans where marijuana is legal. Just a lot of stuff just got out. We're trying to learn as much as we can about the topic. We want to let you guys know everything that we have gathered. It's a very short turnaround time. But I want to share at least what I know objectively. And then, Nate, I'd love to hear your side, too, because I know you did some research as well. So first and foremost, there was a lot of talk when this got out, a lot of confusion. We talked to some people, tried to ask some questions. This is what we know. The World Championships is being put on by the Finnish Disc Golf Association. That tournament is going to be sanctioned, supported, regulated by the PDGA. That's their role in this. And obviously there's some operational support and whatnot. The DGPT is not involved in this. Their product, DGN, is going to have the broadcasting rights to it, well, at least for the streaming. But that's all the involvement that DGN has. On the other side, the WADA is creating the umbrella that the Finnish Disc Golf Association has to comply by. They have to stand under that umbrella. And this is where some confusion is. That is how the tournament is laid out. That is why the drug testing is happening, because the FDGA is putting on the event. What is the FDGA? From what I've read, every PDGA membership in Finland has part of that membership fee go to the FDGA. And the FDGA sounds like a really great thing from what I've read. When you join the PDGA in Finland, part of that money goes towards supporting on a national level the growth and sustainability of the sport of disc golf, which is on paper wonderful. If you join the PDGA, that means part of that goes directly towards supporting your sport on the grassroots level. Course development, youth development, club support. It sounds like the whole shebang is supported by this organization, not just on the competition side. That's kind of what the PDGA is for. So great thing. But because of that, all recognized sports organizations in Finland, all nationally recognized associations, have to comply with the World Anti-Doping Association and their guidelines. So from what I've gathered, WADA became a thing in 1997. 2002. Sorry about that. Finnish Disc Golf Association started in 1998. So this is not a new thing. I just want people to know this. The Olympics is very closely intertwined with the WADA. This is a very big deal. So what does this mean for the players? Well, what we do know is that multiple players have already been tested in Norway. And I think that's what kind of alerted a lot of people about this. But these players from these countries that have these national sports organizations dedicated to disc golf, they already know what they're signing up for when they sign up for the PDGA. They know that at any time they could be drug tested. So this is not news to them. But in the United States, this is not a thing. We have never had to worry about that. Frankly, there could be players doing all sorts of illegal performance-enhancing drugs that we don't know about. But on the other side of things, there's a lot of drugs on this list that are said to be performance enhancing that are relatively harmless and are prescribed by doctors in certain situations. So what happens there? I did a pretty big deep dive into this list of banned substances, and I found a few really interesting ones. A lot of asthma medication is a performance enhancing drug if you abuse it. Insulin, I believe, is on that list. ADHD medication is on that list. The thing is, if you have to take some of these drugs, you have to do what's called a therapeutic use exemption application. So it's exactly what it sounds like. You have to submit documentation that you have been diagnosed with something that causes you to have to take whatever medication it is. And some of these drugs are easier to get that TUE than others. Obviously, if it's like something like diabetes where there's really no other drug that you can take, you have to take insulin. That's a super easy one to apply for. On the extreme end, drugs like, anabolic steroids, human growth hormone, and even marijuana, you're hardly ever going to have a situation where you're going to get by with a TUE. There are some where it's completely off the table, like, MDMA, cocaine, there's no therapeutic benefit, it says. But say for marijuana, the hot button topic in this whole discussion, the only way for you to get an exemption for marijuana is if you, at least from what I've read, you'd have to have extreme documentation and lots of doctor's notes about whatever condition it is, whether it's PTSD, some sort of pain disorder, but also you have to have documentation that you have tried every other alternative possible and that this marijuana is the final frontier that's keeping you okay. So that's the process. So it sounds like for some things, it's going to be easy to get an exemption. Other things, it's going to be very difficult. And for some, you test positive for cocaine. I'm sorry. That's on you, buddy. Not smart. But Nate, this is kind of what we know. What we don't know, and we've both been trying to figure this out, how this happened. The PDGA made it very clear in the email that was sent out that they were just recently alerted about this, and they're trying to give people as much time as possible. 33 days prior to the tournament, that gives people who come from states where marijuana is legal 30 days. It gives them 3 days essentially to stop. And then it essentially can get out of your system roughly in about 30 days.
Sure.
But man,
hopefully.
But Nate, this is a very interesting development for already a tournament that is one of the most hyped disc golf tournaments, maybe the most hyped up disc golf tournament ever. What are your initial thoughts? And when you were doing your own research, what did you pick up?
Sure. Well, my first question to you is, what is the consequence of a failed drug test? Did you find that out in your research?
No. So that was the other thing that was very hazy. And again, I don't. I'm just
imagine
confused
disqualified
as to how this happened. Yeah.
Yeah, they get disqualified.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I have a few points to make here. Right. The first thing that comes to mind is, what problem is the WADA trying to solve here? Right. Like we're talking about disc golf. I don't think that there is an evident performance enhancing drug problem in our game. I think maybe down the line in the distant future, when we're dealing with millions of dollars and the difference in performance, you might need that to get an edge. I don't know, but we're not there yet. And I don't think that we're solving any kind of problem by testing the athletes right now. I think we're more so creating a problem for the sport rather than trying to solve one with drug testing. I don't know of a single athlete that is using any drug to enhance their performance. I just have never heard of it. And second is the random drug testing aspect of it. It's totally not random. They drug tested Evelina over at the European Championship. That's not random at all. And I've actually, I heard of a story. I think it was Tony Farrow a few years ago, several years ago, at an event, was winning coming down the stretch, and they tested him on the green of 18, and then he gets disqualified from the tournament, and then I think kicked out of the PDJ for 12 months for this random drug test, right? So the random aspect of it doesn't feel true, and also the archaic nature of testing for cannabis, right? Like, I think that globally, we're past that, right? We're past testing athletes for cannabis, and the countries that are trailing behind are in the past, right? Like in the NBA, the MLB, UFC, like they're not testing their athletes for cannabis. Like we've already discovered that there is a clear medicinal benefit to cannabis, and that the athletes should be able to use the cannabis for their benefit, right? It's not they're not getting stoned out there and going to play, right? They're keeping their public figures. They're in the public eye, right? Maybe they have some anxiety. They can smoke some cannabis. They can use some cannabis in whatever way they choose. And those organizations, those billion-dollar organizations, have done the research and have discovered and uncovered that it's okay for their athletes to use it. They don't need to punish their athletes for this, right? Even the NFL, you get tested positive for low doses of THC, you're not going to get a huge punishment. You're certainly not going to get kicked out of the league anymore, right? So I think that aspect of it is troubling, and it feels like we're taking a big step back in time here. And I think also my final point here is the timing of it. It just doesn't seem right. It seems like somewhere down the line, someone dropped the ball here, because if the WADA is really authentic with their drug testing, and they're really trying to solve a performance enhancing abuse issue, they should let the athletes know, like, hey, we're trying to find out if any of you guys are using steroids, but these other things are also going to come up. So if you're using cannabis, make sure to not use it, because we're still in Europe. We're still going to test for these things, and based on the laws, you could be potentially disqualified. So I don't know if the WADA coordinated with the PDJ earlier and somehow the ball was dropped, but the timing of it is really strange, and I think is a part of this whole issue. Is like, even 30 days, Brian, I don't think is enough. Like, if you have a habitual cannabis user, I don't think if they stop for a month, like they could still be at risk, right? And the big issue I see is the cloud of news, the dark cloud of news that could ensue. Let's say 10 players test positive, 10 of the top 30 players test positive, and they're disqualified from the world championships. That doesn't solve any problems. It just creates one, and it puts we already have a stigma. We're frisbee golfers, right? We already have that stigma, and it deepens that stigma. And that's what I'm really worried about here. I'm not worried about a player using steroids to putt a frisbee better. I'm worried that the stigma of cannabis and our game is going to be solidified if we have a lot of players test positive. So yeah, I think that kind of closes out my thoughts there.
Yeah, I guess it sounded like you were kind of going more of like the philosophical direction of why the WADA has it on their list. And I guess for me, because it's been around for so long, and it's not like a surprise scenario. Like you said, something happened. This was just a communication issue. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I'm still a little perplexed at the information we didn't get. But I don't care that marijuana is on the banned substances list. As long as everyone knows that it's banned, and it's only banned, in this competition with this organization. It's not like every single country follows the same guidelines. Not every country has a national disc golf association that does this. So to me, it would have all been okay if, much more time had been given to players, much more understanding had been given to players. Whatever. Just wanted to give people the information. We're still learning a lot about this as well. Again, we just learned about this a couple days ago. We talked to the people we wanted to talk to or could talk to. But everything's kind of still getting figured out, and we'll give you some more information when we have it. Nate, any other information about this that you have for the people?
I don't think so. I think that you did a good job on your report there about the finish aspect of it. I think that a lot of people might have assumed that the PDGA is like targeting this and they're trying to jump on players. I don't think that's the case. I think that they might have made a mistake in communication, but Doug Bjerke sends out the email and says, "Hey, we just found out about this. I got to believe him. I believe the guy." And so I think that it's strange that it wasn't already being discussed when they first got the bid. They should have been like, "Okay, let's talk to our players. Like, how do the rules change when we have this major over in Finland?" So, I don't know who that really falls on, but I don't know if there's a real bad guy in this situation. Like I said, I'm just worried about the stigma that comes with someone testing positive from cannabis when, I think there's a lot of people out there when it's like, who gives a shit, man? Who gives a shit what a player does? Like, it's the difference between testing for steroids and cannabis is monumental. And I don't think that a player should be disqualified from a competition because they're using cannabis. Like, why is alcohol not on the list? Right? Why can you abuse alcohol up until the moment that you tee? Up until the moment that you tee off, you can take the edge off. You can take the anxiety away with a literal poison, but you can't use the plant to relax yourself and play. Makes no sense to me. But right, that's not the discussion that we're having on all birdies. And yeah, so let's I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts on that.
Well, and here's my thing. We all are realizing the strain that a full season of touring disc golf has on a player. We've watched players blow their elbows out, have knee problems, have back problems, hip problems. Yeah, I think there are some performance-enhancing drugs that would make it a lot easier to get through a season without injury and with higher levels of endurance. And I completely understand why we need to move in this direction. And also, again, Nate, I'm going over to China for the World Games. There's a lot of gray areas in our sport. We talk about them all the time. We need to continue to find these gray areas and figure them out. And I think this is a good first step. Again, if we do well in China and we get a lot of people in this country of 1 billion people to fall in love with this game, who knows what's going to happen at the Olympic level? Seriously, yeah. I really firmly believe that. And I will let you guys know more about the roster list of China. But cool. There are I believe, 16 countries being represented, and there are some top players going. So it is going to be a phenomenal event. I think this drug testing thing is totally fine. It was a communication issue. And you know what? Let's see what happens. I really hope nothing bad happens. That would be truly heartbreaking. But anyway, Nate, it's not heartbreaking. The storylines from the 2 tournaments that we had on Disc Golf Network simultaneously all weekend. It was unbelievable. First, we're going to stay in the United States before we go back overseas. The Des Moines Challenge, now known as the Discmania Challenge, happened at Pickard Park. The team out there is phenomenal. Ty Tanat, just a fantastic ambassador for the sport of disc golf. Great tournament director. 2 unique first-time winners on tour, Nate. Both had special stories. Let's start in FPO. Cadence Burge the chainsaw.
Wow.
This was it. This was the masterpiece. This was her showing us, yeah, I'm not just decent. I have the game to be a top player for a very long time. Give me your takes.
It's incredible how quick it happened, right? She's had a great season. I think if you've been paying attention this season, that it's not the biggest surprise, but I am still so impressed at the pace at which you go from someone you've never heard of before. I mean, middle of last year, early last year, it's the first time I might have heard of her, and all of a sudden she's getting podiums on the DGPT, right? She's beating top 5 players and putting herself in the opportunity, giving herself the opportunity to win, but to actually close it out today with Hall and Hanley pushing you, it's just incredible. And it really shows you that this isn't just a one-time thing, everybody. Like, Cadence Burge is now going to be a regular threat. Like, she's going to be a regular threat. I just don't see a ton of holes in her game. I think the way that she's delivering the disc, the balance that she's showing on the tee pad, the composure that she's showing with her well-rounded golf game, body control, the
Look
way
at
she's
that.
dude, it's incredible. You know, the shot back on 10 where she's got, her plant foot is in front of her braces in front of her up the hill, and she knows that, and she's got that full body control, and she's really settled with the weight. She knows exactly where to put it, and I think that she's not really throwing the disc very hard, right?
No.
She's throwing it mid 50s maybe. I think that there's still some room for her to kind of push. I don't think she's playing up into her ceiling just yet. I think that there's a lot more growth there. I think that she can learn to kind of compact her swing a little bit more and get a few more miles per hour out of there. It's just incredible. It was incredible to witness, Brian.
Well, Nate, of course this is not a flash in the pan. She got the win here. She got second at Kansas City Wide Open, second at the United States Women's Disc Golf Championships. We forget about that. She got second place up there in Manitowoc. She got podium at the Preserve, 5th at Music City Open, 10th at Supreme Flight Open, 10th at Waco. That's top 10s almost every single event this year, and multiple podium finishes in the win here in Des Moines. This is no longer an underrated player. This is an elite player, and I agree with you. When I look at a player who puts up a good score,
boom.
You can, this is the shot right here where I'm like, okay, absolute dog, needs to come down to the wire, stick this close to put pressure on Holland, and rips this flex shot where you see her pulling her weight back. She's getting her front shoulder pulled down to get this overstable disc to fly back and flatten. And that is the shot you need to throw. She's down a stroke on this hole and hangs the ante over OB, and she's not doing it with a flippy disc. She's doing it with a pretty stable disc. That's commitment. You misthrow that. You fluff that. You pop it nose up. OB, game over. You lose. And now you put pressure on arguably the best player in the United States, and you make her do that. That's unbelievable. You just graduated high school. And you know what?
Wow. Is she 17?
I think she's 18 years old, Nate.
Unreal.
And this moment standing here with Robbie C., her caddy, I believe they're from similar areas.
Alabama.
Yeah, and here's the thing. She is convulsing right here when she realizes that she's about to win. She can't believe that Holland goes out of bounds. But the composure in general.
Yep.
You see her dad in the stands. He is so fired up. The story of her telling Terry that her dad came after seeing her make the putt on hole 3 at round 2. She checked her location of him on her phone and saw he was in Tennessee driving up to Des Moines. Are you kidding me?
Unreal, man. That's what it's all about.
Here's
Brian. Oh, go ahead, man.
No, here's what I really like about Cadence as a player. That interview with Terry was just so well done. And I know it's not that big of a deal. Like, go out and do your thing, play disc golf. You can tell she's ready for the spotlight. Like, she's a storyteller. And that, when it comes to sports entertainment, your brand, people wanting to support you and follow you, storytelling is a big deal. It's a big part of it. The winner in MPO has been a storyteller ever since he got on the road, and it's doing wonders for his career as well. But man, Nate, the backhand, the off arm technique, the lag, like she's there. And it's this slow, controlled run up. She's going to be fine in windy conditions, wet conditions, muddy conditions. It's going to pay off in the long run. And frankly, it's been a joy to watch these backhand dominant players, Silva and now her.
Missy.
Well, here's the thing. I hope that Cadence follows the trajectory of Missy, because Missy's sidearm is good now. Yes, she's backhand dominant. Her sidearm is great. I know that Cadence is still struggling with the flick, and we hardly ever see Silva throw it. But if either of those players can develop just a serviceable approach sidearm with a faster driver and a zone type disc, it's going to be dangerous on any style of course. But right now, watching players kind of manufacture lines that they don't need to be throwing, Holland's throwing a flick on that final approach from where Cadence was. Holland's taking a zone and popping it on a hard hyzer, no thought whatsoever. Cadence throws a miraculous hard flex, hanging it out of bounds. Like, that's, to me, fan of disc golf, that's a special thing. That's a real special thing. What should we expect from her moving forward after this win?
Well, I wanna kind of touch on what I felt was the most impressive part of this win was Cadence kind of dug herself a hole in the final, the back nine, right? She went bogey on 12, bogey on 13, double on 14, right? She goes 4 over in a 3-hole stretch, and Holland's playing well, right?
Really well.
I think at that point they were tied. Holland might have had the lead, and to maintain the composure when that's falling, it's unraveling at that point. It has unraveled. You have basically lost at that point. You've gone 4 over. Like, the emotions are just stirring. Like, you lose the moment. You start to lose the moment and question, like, wow, I can't believe I'm letting it slip, right? And to rally herself and birdie 3 of the last 4 with the close on 18, I think was the most impressive part of it. It's one thing when the flow of the round is going your way, your player behind you isn't playing as well as they normally do, but that wasn't the case, right? The flow was against her, right? She bogey, double, and then brought it back. So to me, that's another, notch added to this win, and it only made it more impressive. And I think she signed up for Worlds. She's going over to Europe, and I think she's a threat. I think I don't think that she's going to be a favorite. I think she's still like right outside of my top 5, but it could happen, and it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world, right? Because she's a champion now. She knows what it takes. She's able to compose in the biggest moments against a dominant player. You don't want Holland Hanley playing hot right behind you, and she made it happen. So she's a threat, Brian. She's definitely top 10 player in the world right now moving forward.
There's a couple things that I'm going to back up. There's a couple of factors that we'll just have to see how she handles when she gets over there. It's going to be, I think, her first time going to Finland for anything. And
that's hard. It's hard to get settled.
Talk about your first time going over there and kind of what that culture shock was for you.
Yeah, I think it's a big part about traveling, anywhere in the United States. Even it's hard to get settled, right? And she's obviously able to get settled, but as soon as you go overseas, right, and you're having all of these novel experiences, right? Like, even the food, right, and where you're sleeping and how much light there is outside, like that's a big deal, right? It can be tough if you're not prepared. Like, you get over there, you just flew across the pond overnight, and you're trying to go to sleep, and your Airbnb doesn't have blackout curtains, and the sun is not setting, and you couldn't find anything to eat but like some kebab that you weren't too keen on.
Okay, pretty good though.
The kebab can be fire, right? But if you're not keen on it, and you're not getting the nourishment that you need, it can add up, right? And then you factor that in with just the grand, nature of the stage.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
You're playing the European Open and you're like, okay, I've seen this before on YouTube, right? On the network. But until you're there, and then until you have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people cheering you on and getting quiet when you're about to throw, and it's just an entirely different setting to play. I don't think that really anything in the United States quite compares yet to what I've seen in Nokia in Tampere. So I think that a lot of the other players, they've all experienced that. All the other players that have stake in this World Championships, they all already know what to expect. So I think that there's a big hurdle there for a rookie.
Yeah, and I hope that she has a good support system when she goes over there, whether she's going with family or whether she has players on tour that have been over there that are going to kind of take her under their wing. Because for a player like her, if you can show up and just get to the course and feel like you're somewhat comfortable, the course could be the most comfortable part of the entire trip, and she could really sink into that. And these are courses you fall in love with. I mean, the Tampere Disc Golf Center is my favorite course in the entire world. And she could just lose herself and have the time of her life and win the tournament. But 5 rounds on those 2 tracks where you got players like Kristen that have, again, tripped over her shoelace and won the tournament there, it's going to be tough, but it's going to be wonderful to watch. But man, Nate, we could talk about this for a while. We got a big old hog to talk about here. Big old hog of a show. I'm not saying big old hog for Ezra. No. I'm just saying the entire show in itself.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's got a couple of pythons for arms, I will say. But Ezra Aderhold, man, he did it. He did it. We've been waiting on this for a long time. We've been questioning if he's ever going to have the full package. And this season, he's given it to us, finally. Wow. Talk to me about what you saw.
Yeah, he's been a champion in my mind for a really long time, right? You go back to, I think it's 2019 Las Vegas Challenge. Eagle was blowing up and just, and nearly birdied the entire tournament, but Ezra Aderhold gets second place. It was still a national tour. He gets second place at a national tour, and it's like, okay, this guy's just automatically like one of the contenders, right? And there's been so many moments. I think it was Texas State's, was it last year or the year before, where he was just lethal, right? He was pushing a killer Gannon Burr and an Anthony Barella. He has been a champion in the minds of a lot of fans for some time now. And to see him finally break through, I think it felt to me kind of inevitable. It didn't feel to me like that much of like, a Cinderella story. But there was just so much emotion with it. I think that he's an easy guy to root for. He's one of the guys that we've seen. It's been so evident how much he works, how hard he works, right? He puts it all out there on YouTube. He was the guy driving around in the Prius, setting his basket up in the park while he's making rice and beans in the Instant Pot. He was kind of that grind. He was still in that grind era of the sport. And so he's always been kind of an inspiration to a lot of players. The chain out there on the 5th, that was nasty. So it was a long time coming, but I was still incredibly impressed with precision. The man was precise, Brian. I think a lot of people think of him as a power player, but man, he was delivering bullets, absolute bullets.
This chain out on hole 5 for ace would have put him at 6 down through 5 holes.
Wow.
This guy came out, he woke up this morning and said, I'm going to eat these beans with a little twinkle in my eye because I'm the champion today. You could tell that he showed up to the course. He dressed like a champion, and he carried himself like a champion. He showed the tiniest bit of emotion when he chained out for that ace on 5. It was like he believed it, and he's like, oh, yeah, well, I should ace. I'm playing out of my mind right now. Here's my thing about Ezra. Yes, he's had the mindset of an athlete for the longest time.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to watch him when he gets to those moments where he has to push through to that next level. It's like what we saw with Holland for the longest time. We're like, okay, when are you going to take that next step and just start stomping on people and show off the skills that you have so much better than everybody else? I talked to my younger brother, Tom, who right now, I believe he's highest rated player in Illinois, great player, has played with Ezra out at Delwood Park. I think I might have told this story briefly, but I talked to my brother again about this round because Ezra shot like 1095 in my brother's face. Tom got second, lost by like 8 strokes to Ezra. And I talked to Tom today, and he said, the thing about Ezra that I'm blown away by is his step putt is just, it's always the same. It's never changed. It's just simply gotten better. Think about a tech startup, Nate. Imagine if you never had to make any new products and you just got to spend all your time refining that one bit of software. Eventually, you're going to get something that doesn't break. Roughly speaking.
Yeah.
And that's what my brother said is so interesting about his putt is it's barely changed over the years. And the step putt is just lethal. And he does it, and it almost is a statement to other players because he hits those circle 2 putts with such force and he runs them in. He just plays like a top athlete. It reminds me of Avery Jenkins. It reminds me of when Avery Jenkins was really starting to come into his own. And everybody's like, oh, here's this muscular athlete that dresses really professional. I want him to be the top of the sport. This shot on 17, Nate, go ahead and talk us through it.
Well, I think that you can just take your 9-speed out and you can try and hit the gap because you're nervous because you've only got one stroke to play with. Hamas is in at 27. You still have people chasing you. Or you can take your nuke with your name on it and you can just believe in yourself and you can throw it almost as hard as you can. And Ezra threw it further than anybody on the network did all weekend, right? Terry Miller was down on the ground. He's like, hey, it's 150 feet into the pin. Like even I can get up and down. That was the best drive we saw. And it happened in the biggest moment. It was the biggest shot of his career. The tee shot on 17. That's the hole that you have to get by, right? That's the last boss that you have to beat, that you have to roll dodge and backstab. Right? you've got to make the gap on 17. Like if you don't make the gap, then you're in the spot where you have to decide to go for it or not. And dude, he just threw it so far, right? He's throwing it 72 miles per hour probably through that gap, and it just flips up. And I think that the other big moment in the round for me was the par putt on 9 from distance. Just filthy, right? Like slightly uphill, finds the left pocket there. And it's those moments where he's missed those in the past and then experienced the intense emotion of that letdown, right? That's what we saw at the Cascade Challenge, was that intense emotion. And then what we're seeing here, if you're watching on the Jomez YouTube, like he was crying, right, with his caddy, but then as soon as he tapped it in, the guttural just yell and the muscles are flexing like he's just an animal, right? He was so jacked up on that. And I think that this could potentially, unleash something, right? We saw it with AB, right? He won his first one, monkeys off the back. I think that it's going to have a similar effect with Ezra, right? He's already been in contention at, a handful of events this season, but I think this is going to help him. He doesn't have anything to really prove any longer. It's just like, how many titles do you want to try and rack up?
It's so interesting watching him kind of erupt like that. And it's not that's interesting. It's that the game of disc golf doesn't let you get like that all the time. You're playing tennis, you hit a winner down the line, erupt. You see guys erupt all the time. You can play with that kind of like raw, like primal aggression, but disc golf forces you to tone it down. Disc golf forces you to be gentle. You're watching a guy like Ezra do some of the floatiest little cute things with the disc because you have to in this sport. You can be powerful, but he had to learn the other side of the game in order to consistently shoot the way he is. Watching him throw a putter this season, those blue Challenger SSs, I believe that he's throwing, is
little nose up.
Unbelievable. And he's finally just consistently doing it on multiple angles. He's not just a hyzer only guy now. He's becoming a full player. And like I said, when Avery Jenkins was starting to win a lot, And I remember when he won that world title in '09, myself as a kid was fired up. I was a teenager. I was just about to graduate high school. And I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy that I've been wanting to show my family. I want people to see disc golf and see Avery Jenkins and say, wow, okay, all right, never mind. I'm not going to say anything about this game anymore. And Ezra's kind of like Avery 2.0. And man, I feel so happy for him. And he makes the sport look good, but he also is the spirit of the touring professional disc golfer. Like guys like Barsby, guys like Matty O that have been around a long time, they look at Ezra and say, yeah, it's not just the big muscles and the nice clothes and the BMWs. He's grinded it out, living in his Prius. He really roughed it because he gave his entire life to this game. So hats off to you, man. It was a real pleasure to watch.
Yeah. It was extra emotional for me, Brian, and I will share my story on this. I'm not trying to paint myself in any kind of light here, but it was extra emotional because I met Ezra. I think it was 2017 down in San Antonio. I saw him at a tournament, played with him, and was immediately like, "Wow, this guy's a champion, right? Like he's got what it takes." And I approached him and was like, "Look, man, I want to help you. Like I've got a good grip on what you need to do to become a professional. I think you could be a professional disc golfer, right? I think you could be a champion on the tour." And the man really, he put his trust in me, right? He was the first player that I officially represented as a disc golf agent, right? I had no experience doing that. He put his trust in me. And even, down the line, he had other agents coming after him and he was like, "Hey, I want to stay with Nate." Right. And I told Ezra to take a big leap of faith back in the day. I said, "Don't take a manufacturer sponsor. I want you to play a full season without a sponsor." He did that, played well, and then the next year we get him a deal with Discraft. We get him the nuke. We get him the freaking nuke, Brian. I got to call that man and say, "Hey, look, they want to put your name on the nuke, the Discraft nuke." And he was like in tears. I'm in tears. And to see a player that had put trust in me and that I believed in, like, achieve this and become a champion, right? He texted me. I texted him today and I'm like, "Ezra Aderhold, Pro Tour champion." And he's like, "I really appreciate you, man. From the beginning, I don't forget how much you helped me." And the hairs on my arms are like standing up. I'm in tears reading that because it is so special. It's just a really special thing, and to play a small part in someone's story is something that no one can ever take away, and it's a really beautiful thing. And obviously, he has achieve this on his own, right? He's taken full control of his destiny, and he's pushing 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? Like 75K at the moment, and he's on a grind, right? He's pushing out content for people, and he's really one of the leaders in that department, right? Obviously Simon Lizotte, but he's a consistent entertainer and a model for how other players need what they need to do to succeed, right? We're not quite at the point where you can just succeed through your play, right? If you want to make it out there, like Ezra Aderhold has kind of like written the path, right? So very, very impressive. And yeah, it was emotional for me today, Brian.
It's like you go down a street, you see a guy playing guitar and he's shredding. You tip him $5 in his hat, and then 2 years later, you see him headlining a tour or something like that. It's the I know that guy effect. And I think a lot of people are on that ride, and they have been for quite some time. And that's got to feel so good. I think he told Terry that he was going to drink alcohol for the first time tonight, or
bottle
something
service?
like that.
They're partying, man. Good for him.
I hope he doesn't overdo it, because, man, I remember the first time that I drank alcohol, bad time. Real bad, bad time.
Alcohol's no good, man. We should test for it.
Shut up.
Why not? Why the hell not? I don't understand.
All right, Nate. Well, but you know what? Speaking of going back over to Europe, let's talk about the other tournament that was going on at the exact same time. huge shout out to the DGN crew for somehow making this happen. Some of the stuff that we're able to do does not get noticed. This is magic. Some of the stuff that we do with the budget and with the infrastructure that we have, unbelievable. European Disc Golf Championships in Norway. Nate, just paint the picture of where these players were playing.
Sure. So there's only a few places in the world where you can find the geological feature called a fjord, right? FJ, the fjord. And the west coast of Norway is potentially, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world, right? The glaciers cut through the earth and they left this just void, right? And the sea fills it in, right? So you can be at the water's edge. You have a 3,000-foot cliff at your back, and you're looking at the earth, a 3,000-foot cliff in front of you. So it's a terrain that you can only find in a few places. And there happens to be a few disc golf courses up there, right? Most of the time you fly into the city of Alesund, Norway, and then you take one of the biggest tunnels in the world and you go underneath the sea. You drive underneath the sea, you pop back out into the little town. And the first disc golf course here we go. We're taking a look at Alesund right there. And those are some baby mountains, some baby fjords, but man, the Norwegians, right? It used to be a poor country. And then I think it was in the 1960s that they discovered oil, and a lot of oil, and they became one of the wealthiest nations in the world, right? So they're balling out everywhere you go, right? You rent the electric vehicle. They've got a full fleet of electric vehicles. And it's just an amazing country, right? And you go to this first disc golf park, the Vaset disc golf park in Langvang, Norway, and it's a gym, right? You're up against this big hillside, and you're dealing with you start off with this kind of track and field arena, right? And they've got a couple of holes right there, and then you kind of venture into deciduous forest. Here we go. You have a lot of these water features, right? A lot of these really beautiful baskets placed lethally close to, the water and very exposed disc golf course as well. We saw that, play a big factor. Days 3 and 4 were incredibly windy. I think day 3 was, it was pushing 40 miles per hour, to the point where it should have almost
It was a windstorm. Yeah.
It should have almost been postponed, right? So look at Evelina right here. I mean, that's a 2,500 foot, mountain in front of her. Just incredible setting for the game. And this was, a few years back, was the site of a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, right? It was the combination of the Vaset Disc Golf Park and PCS, or the Sula Park in Vestnes, Norway, which we're going to visit next week. So I think it's a great setting for the European Disc Golf Championships. Makes a ton of sense with the schedule, right? These players, they're just driving like an hour down the street to play PCS, right? So incredible, Brian. And how about this world-class ace from the reigning world champ?
Nate, she's just on fire right now.
Unreal, dude.
Aces at the major in Wisconsin, comes back overseas, back-to-back events. This is a highlight. This is lifetime. This is a lifetime ace, man.
What a stick to.
Somebody was taking a video, and I think they said that Evelina told them that was her water disc, and then they panned the camera over to Evelina, and she said, "Oopsie." Dude, here's the thing.
Oh,
this is a lifetime ace. Unbelievable. Here's what I got to say. On the green of 18 at the major back in Wisconsin, she told Terry Miller, "I forgot how fun it can be to go to battle coming down the stretch of a tournament." And that is Evelina and her entire approach to disc golf in a nutshell. And when she finds that, when she remembers, which it seems like sometimes she forgets and then she remembers again, and it's just magic over and over and over again because it's somebody with seemingly such a pure heart. We've seen her kind of evolve as a player over the years, just lose herself in the joy of the sport of disc golf. And this is, things that happen, these missed putts from short range that kind of take her out of that. But when she gets back on the horse, Nate, she's the best player in the world by a long shot and beats Kristen Lott in a 2-hole playoff. And they just decimate the field, Nate.
Yeah. And they left the field behind. I don't know what they
18 strokes. 18 strokes from Kristen in second place to Henna at 15 over par.
That's unreal. See, the thing, what's happening with that, right? Silva was in the field. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Silva Saarinen was in the field. Doesn't even get third and is over 18 strokes back, right? What that does, I think, is, to me, there's only two players that I almost think it takes Silva and digs a deep hole. Like, to come back from that, I think Silva's going to need a big time tournament next week to come back into the picture, right? We can't dismiss her entirely because of one event, but you get beat by 20 plus strokes at the European Championships. It's just hard to really truly believe in yourself going into back-to-back majors, right? And what this does, it just amplifies the confidence that Evelina and Kristen are able to tap into. I think that Kristen's definitely going to take away, she's going to feel some pain from this. I think she had a lot of opportunities to kind of run away from Evelina with the way that she played early. And Evelina is obviously going to be able to take away, what she was able to find in the wind, right? I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that in Estonia. I don't think we're going to see that caliber wind in Tampere or in Nokia. But if it does happen, we know that the players that are going to be able to separate themselves.
So,
right?
Yes. And I think devil's advocate, Silva might walk away from this tournament going, I knew I wasn't going to be able to win playing in this wind. And I'm not discrediting her by assuming this or maybe speculating this, because we hear it from Owen all the time. Owen comes out to a course, we interview her, and she goes, oh, I'm not going to win this tournament. This course is not for me. I'm not going to be able to win here. And at a certain point, you just got to tip your cap to a player like Evelina. I want to go back to that shot that she threw at hole 1 at the course. It's just an unbelievable line. But how many players can throw this shot with a 40-mile-an-hour wind? Look at this behavior.
Wow.
I think almost only Evelina can do this. Maybe a handful more. I'm thinking Holland. I'm thinking Ella.
Yep.
Kristen does it in a little bit different way. But you don't just do this. So to me, I think a lot of players in this field are going, okay, well, this cuts down who's going to win this tournament to just a few, maybe even just a couple.
I'm absolutely with you. I'm absolutely with you, Brian. I think that there are not a lot of players. The par on 1 right there was playing near impossible to get the par. It's ripping 35 miles per hour right to left, and she throws a driver out over the OB.
And just gets slammed down on purpose and flexes out all the way.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That the IQ on that shot, it can't be overstated.
Nate, I saw Barry Schultz throw the exact same line in my face at Ledgestone, and I was like, I don't think I've seen anybody do that. Most of the time, they just take a forehand and let the crosswind kind of push it left and then flex out. Barry just goes like 30 feet higher than you're supposed to normally throw, purposefully get shoved down by the crosswind, and then finish a regular flight. And that's Evelina just did that exact same thing. Yeah, that kind of stuff, I think, makes me wonder if certain players, like especially Silva, finished that tournament and went, that was annoying, and then moves on to the next one, because this was not standard conditions.
That's a superpower. I'll tell you, that's a superpower to be able to do that, right? And that's why I'm not going to write her off. Of course, that'd be silly.
No,
but can't write her off. But I think it does dig you a hole, right? Because I think only the best athletes are able to have that short of a memory, right? I think that when you get beat by that much,
31 strokes, Nate.
Is that what it was, dude? 31 strokes. See, that does something to you, right? So we're going to have to keep a close eye on her confidence going into the next week's tournament, which I think she's won there before, I believe, and she's just the course is more suited to her style, right? She's going to be able to throw flippier plastic. The tunnels are pretty protected, right? Vasset is a little bit more exposed. And, I think when I think of Tampere, it's a little bit more protected, right? So she's going to be able to shape the flippy stuff out there as well.
Wow. Yeah, that was something. And what's funny? The complete opposite thing happened in the MPO division. We did not have a 2-hole playoff. We had total domination from a man who now is showing me that he is definitely one of the favorites to win the World Championships. And this is like for sure now. Niklas Antila, 16-stroke victory over Timo Hartmann from Germany. This was the best disc golf I've ever seen this guy play. From beginning to end, he had one average round.
In the wind,
these conditions,
it was like
I can't even believe it.
Yeah. I'm with you, Brian. I think that's a bold statement saying it's the best he's played when he's won, Pro Tours in the States against the deep field.
1073, Nate. 1073 event.
Is that what he averaged?
Yeah, come on.
This was completely unexpected. Even Niklas would agree that he had to have thought he was going to battle, right? There are a lot of really talented European disc golfers. That field was not light. Like, I think that if you're the average fan out there and you look down at that leaderboard, you might not recognize a lot of names and go, okay, well, I recognize Niklas. Well, that's because they're playing. They're not playing on the Disc Golf Network a lot. They're not playing in the States, but you and I both know that there are a lot of talented players in that field, and it's another twofold thing, right? We were talking about Gannon Burr at Preserve, and we're like, hey, is the course too easy, right? And I think we have to take Gannon out of the conversation with that performance, with that discussion, and I think it's almost an injustice to count out some of these other European players as being contenders because they got beat by so much, right? It's because Niklas just had an otherworldly tournament, right? That course is not easy, and for him to go double digits round one, to nearly back up the same round in round two, to shoot under par when it was so windy, it's just. I still think that there are a lot of players in that field that we need to keep our eye on, and they just got slaughtered by the best player in Europe, and he's the best player by far. He's the best player by far.
By far.
Like the field and the fans of Europe have to just be in awe of what he's bringing to the tournaments, right? Because he's not making a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I think he had 4 overstrokes total on the weekend, Brian. He had a single bogey and a double in round 3.
And that's it.
And then one freaking bogey on 18 when it really didn't matter, right? So
yeah.
How clean he's playing is insane. And I had a little bit of doubt about Niklas going into the year, and it's just all gone. I think that, to me,
I told you.
I think it's Gannon, AB, Niklas, Isaac. Like, I think in that order, right? I as far as how I feel about their chances at the World Championships, he's one of the top 3 favorites for me.
I go same order, but flip-flop AB and Niklas. It seems like Niklas is always in the discussion in Europe. And yes, AB is too. But there's just something special about Niklas and the way he's playing right now. AB's had some moments of brilliance, but he's also had some really low moments. Niklas is showing us some really important stuff. And this tournament, to me, this is a tournament to just never forget for him, because he had the lead. He had a great lead and did something that Gannon always admits that he struggles with. he stomped on second place. He kept pushing even though he was in the lead by quite a bit. And at the World Championships, 5 rounds, you have to do that. There's no safe lead whatsoever. And the fact that he tapped into this skill and just said, you know what, I don't care. I'm not going to take it easy. I'm going to shoot 32 under par, 1073 rated event in a windstorm. And he's a hyzer flip thrower that throws 70 miles an hour maximum. So,
well, how about this, Brian? I want to ask you this, right? What we just witnessed with Gannon Buhr was the hometown kind of situation. It had an effect, right? He was on All Birdies last week, and he was like, "Look, I'm busy, like all week I'm doing stuff. I'm talking to the news, like I'm going around here. I'm doing all these things." How do you feel Niklas is going to handle that same situation arising with the Worlds being in Finland, right? You know that he's going to be booked up with all the media stuff, all the news outlets are going to want to talk to him. Do you feel like it's actually a disadvantage for him to be playing the Worlds in Finland?
Great question. You bring up an interesting point. My answer is no. It's not a disadvantage whatsoever. I think for Gannon,
he can shut it all off. He can shut it all off.
I think so, and I think he's going to be okay. I think all players are going overseas expecting this tournament to be chaos. We're hearing all these stories about these giant skyboxes and platforms, and it's getting done up to a level that we've never seen before. There's expected to be 10 to 15,000 spectators coming to watch disc golf. There's an invitation for the president to come out and watch. I'm not sure if that's confirmed or not, but
wow.
But Nate, like, this is like a huge deal, and this is why I'm not too shocked about the WADA thing. Like, this is the event. Like, people have been talking over the past couple of years that disc golf is we're kind of dying, we're kind of stagnating. Zoom out a lot more. Yeah, people are not buying as many discs because they have enough discs. Look at what's happening over in Finland. Please tune into the World Championships. Please see that every player going over there is expecting this to be the most epic event that's ever been held. And this is right after probably the next best one, the European Disc Golf Festival over there in Tallinn. We know the Estonian president loves disc golf, and Kristen Lott. So, Nate, I don't know. That's why I don't think Niklas is going to be phased, because he knows what to expect. Gannon, I think, you know what? Yeah, he wanted to win this tournament, but it's a long season. He got to come home, hang out, rest, be with family, and he got 13th place. Not great, but you know what? This is going to be great rest and relaxation to go back overseas and have a great stretch. I think a lot of guys are coming into form at the right time, and I'm really, really excited about this. And yeah, I leave on Tuesday. There is a strike. Nice. There's a strike happening at the Helsinki airport.
Oh, wow.
On July 2nd, the day that I'm supposed to get in. I have waited on hold with Finnair for 10 hours cumulatively, and I have not gotten a hold of anybody. So if you work for Finnair customer service and you're listening to this somehow, please give your boy a call. I don't know what's happening with my flight. I got to pick up my visa in person here tomorrow in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
It's been a time.
What a ride, man.
It's been a real ride, but this is probably not going to be a problem compared to years past for me.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, but it's going to be great,
dude. It can't get any worse than the story that you shared with us.
It can.
I don't know.
It can. The plane could have tried to go over the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, man. I leave tomorrow morning. Actually, I'm flying out of Portland, so we still haven't decided. Catherine suggested I take the bus early in the morning, but I'm trying to usher her to take me to the airport, so I can hang out, have a nice cruise, get Chipotle on the way, like versus like getting on the bus like first thing in the morning. So we had a bit of a discussion about that, but I'm really excited. I'm flying Portland to Iceland straight to Oslo. and picking up a electric vehicle and just cruising through the country, right? It's a big drive, but it's a beautiful drive. And I was just talking to James Conrad, and we were reminiscing about past trips to the area. So it's an amazing place that disc golf has taken me, and I'm excited to work with you again, man. You're working with EPT. You're going to be
Yes,
sending it down
sir.
to Perk, sending it down to Perk. Yeah, I can't wait to be a part of that event. It's the PCS Open is what I'm referring to, in Vestness. It's incredible, and the player staff dinner is just insane. It's insane. Like it's straight from the Viking playbook, right? Like it's a feast. It's in a big hall, built a long time ago. So I'm really thankful, and I'm just so grateful to still have this opportunity to work on disc golf broadcasts. Can't wait.
Well, speaking of big old Viking feast, this big old hog is cooked. We have done it. The episode is complete, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time. The next few episodes that we have are going to be unbelievable. And we got some special news for you about what we're doing at the World Championships coming up soon. So be on the lookout. We'll see you soon. Good night or morning, whatever.